Hi, I'm 23 years old. I want to make a video about my English learning journey, also marking the end of the small journey of university, preparing for a big journey of life. I must say that maybe English grade for when I first came into contact with this. I felt it was very interesting. At the time, there were some friends who had come into contact with it early so they could speak. I feel they were really good. After gradually going to the secondary school, I readily forgot about this. Calmly did not learn any detailed basic knowledge and could pass the subject calmly relying on the help of my classmate. It is ridiculous, but that is true. When I took the entrance exam to grade 10, it was the second most important changes in exam in education. I could be sure of my percentage of points in other subjects, but I could calculate any number for English to give myself confidence. Because I didn't have any passage to affirm knowledge, I just relied on guessing and luck. But fortunately, I must say that luck came to me. Even though my score wasn't high, it was very lucky that I didn't get a falling grade. After that, when I passed, I promised myself that I had to study again from the beginning. I couldn't be so lucky every time because there were still top important exams 3 years later that would decide my future life direction. But since I still didn't try and had to do the same thing again as before, in middle school and high school, my friends went to extra classes at their teacher houses, but the number of times I went to classes could be counted on one hand, and I often thought that I saved my parents money on that. Once I entered my 12th year, preparing for the more important exam, I started to go extra classes with my friends, but it was too late. But as the saying goes, every little bit is worth it. I also invested in registering to study with a teacher who was vice principal of another high school. He was very busy but very good. So my friends were able to pursue him to spend a little time with me. My classmates knew each other, but they were very good students, while I was terrible. I must say that the conditions were very good, but I didn't make much progress. Luckily, that year I also got special, also not as high as anyone else, but enough for me to pass the subject, which were very good. But God, I knew I was bad. So when I registered for university, with the encouragement of my family, I decided not to choose this. I registered for 5. None of them were in the English language major, but after June, when I got my exam score, I saw that the possibility of passing the school I registered for were not high. So I went to change, and at the time I was very discouraged. So I registered for many other voices, including that one. The result was that this was right. Going to university, it was a new level. I had to say that I cried a lot and was more depressed in my first year. I had to work hard to keep up with the progress of this language and the new environment at the university. Every year, I just barely passed the subjects. Some subjects were very bad, so my score was the lowest, and some subjects were very good, so my score were the highest in the class on the midterm exam. 3 years later, the score was the same, but it was better than the first year, and in the third year, I failed a subject. If I restudied, I would be late for my final year graduation. At the time, I was very short, had a headache, and were restless, and then I had to get the shortest haircut before to accept what happiness. And there were also even that I had anticipated rebellions for the last 2 years, but the redetermined events still happened. There were also many things that happened in the 4 years. It was the most unforgettable time and a very painful first shock after 8 years for me, but it was too long, so I kept it for myself. I just want to end here and say goodbye.